tribe or something. It affects everybody. It affects everybody. The Hausas, the Igbos, the Yorubas, Deltas, Edos, every tribe in Nigeria. So let's all try to make sure that we protect those around us. And then if you notice anything that is out of place, you should try to notify the authorities so that everyone is kept safe.
Yeah, that's another conversation we'll be having in the course of the week, you know, because it's, I mean, we saw the video that went viral of former President Obasanjo talking about, you know, if a certain, if something is being ascribed to a certain tribe, I mean, the reasonable thing for you to do as a president, knowing that that is from, because it seems like you are the one giving them, you know, to move on. So the only reasonable thing is for you to actually come out and denounce, just like when Donald Trump was being asked to talk to the Proud Boys, you know, instead of telling, he said stand by or something. I can't remember how he quoted. You know, so I think it's just important that, you know, this issue of insecurity is beyond, we should take it and strip it where it should be stripped all the way down.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so another thing that is also brewing is also my story. So El Zazaki, for those that do not know him, I mean, this person has been accused of so many things, you know, inciting people in the north. It's actually, he has a huge following. So they say his wife tested positive for COVID-19 inside a correctional center in, what's it called, in Kaduna State. And they have been detained in that particular place since 2015. So she was visibly absent from the court because they've said with immediate effect, they should go ahead and treat the wife of this embattled leader, you know. So I'm just wondering, I hope she's okay, because, you know, there's a lot at stake if anything should happen to them in terms of their health. They have really posed a lot of security challenges within that region, and I hope that they treat her well and she recovers, you know, from COVID-19. I think, Maury, do you have anything to add to the conversation, or we'll just move on?
I honestly feel like until she goes back, before my mind will be at, you know, be at peace.
Yeah.
To get out of this. But this country, I honestly don't really trust them.
Yeah, I just hope they are able to handle the case well, because I'm just afraid for her, you know. If anything should happen, you know, they will say it is the people that sent them to kill, you know. Because for me, I don't understand why a case will linger from 2015. Just imagine you being in a place, I mean, from 2015, you know, all the way. This is like how many years?
It just goes,
this will be the 6th year.
It actually just goes to show how bad the justice system is. Because I don't see any reason why a case should be lingering for that long. And then when you linger for that long, you make people agitated. So if there is any chance that they get to see that person,
if you tell me that I committed a crime, convict me and let everybody move on. You know, instead of delaying and delaying and delaying. Because if anything should happen right now, of course they will point fingers back to the government to say that the government has, you know, so we just have to be careful when we're dealing with some of these things. All right, so we're going to take a very short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing COVID-19. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you don't talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Nigeria, a third world country in Africa, is known as the poverty capital of the world. The nation just exceeded India with the largest rate of people living in extreme poverty. Now, in Nigeria, about 86.9 million people live in severe poverty, which is about 50% of its entire population. While the nation is smaller, both geographically and in terms of population, it is failing at lowering the rates of poverty now. It is still failing at lowering the rate of poverty. Now, this is partly due to mismanagement of the oil resources, of course, that we all know, and the presence of corruption. And this was a report that we saw on an online magazine. So with the rate of this poverty rate that we have talked about, you know, and if we want to, and the rate at which the COVID-19 virus is spreading, you know, and costing for the testing is placed at 50,000 naira, and treatment is even beyond beyond that. How would we stop the spread of this COVID-19 in the bid to fight it? You know, within a country that is so that is living with so many people in poverty, about 86.9 million people. That's the question today. So we're hoping that we'll be able to find solutions to how we can bring down the cost of testing so that more people will be tested. So you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at Waste Show Africa1 with the hashtag Waste Show, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. I'm going to bring in Dr. Yemisi in a bit, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts, and if we possibly have Mori back, her thoughts as well. What do you think, you know? First of all, have you had any reason to go do a COVID test? Like, I don't know.
Put me on this spot this night.
Let me pretend like I don't know.
Okay, so if I'm being 100% honest, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a COVID scare. I had some of the symptoms.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot, but I just felt, I've been going out though. It has to be it. So I decided to actually isolate. Although I didn't have, I didn't lose any of my senses, so I could taste, I could smell, all of that. But I had cold, and the cold was prolonging. I'm like, wow. So I was like, okay, maybe I should actually go do a test. I mean, I've been isolating for 2 weeks, and I have a flatmate, and she's okay. Maybe I should go do a test. And then I hear, oh, it is 50 grand. And I was thinking, So I spend 50K. So if I spend 50K to do a test and it's positive, I would also have to treat myself, which is extra cost. Now, depending on the hospital I end up going to. So, and I'm looking at it, I don't exactly have this money at the moment to spend. So how am I going to do it? So I think it actually now dawned on me, like, now, wow.
This is Jennifer that is earning a salary.
I earn salary.
There's problem in this
And I'm
country.
having a problem paying 50 grand for a test that I know that I would definitely spend so much more if I am positive. So what about people who are not earning that much, or people who are living from hand to mouth? What happens? So you get the COVID. How do you? So are they saying that they would not get treated?
So you see, that's why the average man you see on the street and you ask them about COVID-19, they tell you it's a rich man disease. Because I don't get how a disease that is just like malaria, why the testing will not be, you know, brought down to a reasonable cost, you know.
Yeah.
You are saying that this every day, I mean, I was throughout this holiday weekend, I went on a retreat. And I was watching, what's it called, CNN. Everything you hear, COVID. And guess what? This thing, they keep saying, oh, it's spreading like there's another third wave coming, there's this one coming. So you already know that this thing is, it is very vicious in terms of spread, right? Especially the second strain that came. It's very, very, you know, it's quick to spread. You already know this. So why would a reasonable government not be thinking of bringing down, as the way you will go and test for malaria, maybe 500 naira or 300 naira or something, I don't know. You should be able to test that way, because COVID, you know what is most annoying about COVID for me? Akanimot was going to travel for holiday, right? She was going out of the country. Before she traveled, you know, by the time I calculated the test alone, she alone did, you know, it's over 400, almost 500K. Because you will test before you go, when you get there, you will test. But when she said the only test that was free was the one she did in Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai is
Do you understand?
free.
That was the only test that she did that was free. Every other test that she did, she had to pay. And this is outside of 2 of her children that had to do the test as well.
Too.
Do you get? So by the time she came back, when she now got a message that, oh, somebody tested positive and all that, so because she was in close contact with that person, she said, let me just sit down in my house and isolate. I can't go and be spending so much money on just testing.
How much money? And then there are people who actually just want to go to nearby countries, okay, let me just relax.
Yes.
And then you do your test here, you get to the other country. Like, I think Ghana is, I think in Ghana you have to pay $150 for you to actually do the test. So what I don't know is if it is both for going and coming. So you enter Ghana, you pay $150. If you're leaving, are you also going to pay that amount, or is when you get to Nigeria that you finally pay that amount of money?
It is expensive. Maury, is Maury there now?
Hi, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. My internet went off.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
So I think I came in on you guys talking about the pricing.
Yes.
I think that the pricing is just are you guys saying that it's just a Nigerian thing, or is the world thing? Because even in like the US, if you don't have like healthcare insurance, you will pay like $193 to get your COVID test done. Because I remember, and I had to do 2. So I feel like it's actually a general problem.
It's
so
a general thing.
difference
it's
between
actually a general thing. It's just that I feel, in as much as it's a general thing, we know that there are countries that are kind of like the economy is way better.
And the government is subsidizing. Thank God we have Dr. Yemisi, she's worked both in Nigeria and she works in the US, so she'll be able to explain to us. Let me bring her in. Thank you so much, Dr. Yemisi. So Dr. Yemisi is a diplomat, American Board of Internal Medicine, a fellow of both American College of Physicians and American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists, with her area of specialty in internal medicine and endocrinology. Oh, all these medical terminologies. God help me. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Yemisi.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much, So, Dr. Yemisi, you've been listening to our banter about this COVID-19 because you know what? First of all, can you fight COVID-19 without testing? Is it possible?
It's going to be difficult, because the countries that have been successful so far, the Singapores, the South Koreas, the Australians, it's mainly with testing. So testing is the key. We're all happy that we've been lucky in Nigeria and a lot of other African countries where we've not been able to have as much testing as desired. But certainly access to testing is essential before this pandemic is over. Like you said, I've been listening to the discussion back and forth. Somebody has to pay for the testing, right? So, we in Nigeria, we're not manufacturing neither the machine for the PCR, nor the consumables, or the reagents. I don't even know if we're manufacturing the swab. United States had that problem in the beginning where they said the only country manufacturing the steak with the swab on top of it was from Italy. So if we're not manufacturing any or all of the components, then we're dependent on importing everything. And now compared to say last year, we now have the luxury of different types of testing for different situations. So going back to the issue of affordability, I don't think there's anybody on earth that would not say they've not had a COVID scare. Yeah. We've all had a cough, or a cold, or an ache. Everybody has had one symptom or the other, and your mind will say, oops, do I need to test? So this is an apt discussion.
Dr. Yemisi, you just think, do I need to test? You don't think of the money again. Let me just go and buy oranges.
I don't think I have. Your faith has to come back. You've not had faith for a very long time.
It's so, because, and this was what brought about the conversation, because I was just thinking in my head, you keep shouting that it is spreading, and people care less in this Nigeria. They are not even bothered. But when you calculate it, if you give a hungry man on the street 50,000 naira to go and do COVID test, do you think he will take that money to go and something that can feed his family for maybe another month?
Yeah.
So let me break it down let me break it down in a different way. So you can think of testing as surveillance, right? We just want to test the general population or big segments of the general public so that we can try to slow down the spread of disease. Or we can say, oh, symptom-based testing. I'm coughing, I have a fever, I've treated malaria, it's not going away, then I need a test. Unfortunately, government alone cannot do this, especially in Nigeria. Even here in the United States, government alone is not doing it. I think this is because it's a public health nightmare. Everybody has to chip in. So there are different ways that we can still improve cost of testing in Nigeria. Apart from, of course, the main one will be government subsidizing the labs. So government can readily choose to subsidize the labs. I'm not sure if we're in a recession or depression. I think it's recession, right? We're still in the recession.
Yes.
The only way the economy is going to improve is if we improve pandemic, right? The new President Biden said it. Every president in the world has said it. Every country whose economy has tanked in the last year is been linked to COVID. And the same thing with us in Nigeria too. So if we can improve the prevalence of COVID in Nigeria, it will certainly improve our economy. So that's how government needs to look at it in terms of spending that money to subsidize testing. But apart from government, because we know the government likely may not be able to afford testing for anybody that needs it. There is a huge sector of non-government that can do something about testing. Huge. In Nigeria, we're the country of groups, associations. We love it, just like it is in other countries. So manufacturing sector, banking sector, airline industry. Instead of paying for palliatives and giving somebody a box of Indomie, you can donate that money to
What's testing?
the
Mass
laboratory.
testing.
And say instead of 50,000, okay, maybe we'll choose to pay for the next 1,000 COVID tests. Let's subsidize it to 20,000. Even 20,000 is beyond the reach of a lot of people, but it might make a lot more people test. Because the problem is that especially if you're symptomatic, if you're asymptomatic, you might even say, why bother? But if you're symptomatic and you don't test and you keep getting treated for malaria, then you're spreading it to others, your family, your friends, market, your work environment. So if all these different groups in the society can spend money to subsidize testing, either through the government or through the private sector, it will go a long way. And I think once people know that it's affordable, then you can go test, right? If they say it's 10,000 instead of 50,000, a lot more people will do it. I don't know if it will ever be, even here in the United States, you need to have insurance, like the previous speaker was saying. But there are instances where you can still test without having any money or having insurance. A lot of churches do drive-through testing. They advertise it on TV all the time. A church will just come up and say, we want to test 500 people. You can do drive-through testing over the weekend. So you can choose to go test just to know if you have it or not. Or you can say, oops, I've been coughing for 4 or 5 days, let me go test. Some mosques do it, schools do it. So a lot of non-governmental associations do this. And I think that's where we need to start looking into. Okay. Our mosques, our churches, they all need to start looking into,
Absolutely. Jennifer?
Okay, so let's say the government decides to reduce the cost and then you get a lot of people coming in to do the test. Now, we also know that we also have to consider social distancing, even in the hospital, because one of the reasons I was telling my family members and friends that, I think I might have to go to the test because I'm not feeling so well. And then somebody goes, don't go to the hospital. That's where people are catching the COVID the most. And I actually have a very big problem with that because I'm sure there are people with legit fears like that. And I feel like maybe hospitals have to put people's minds at ease. At first, I didn't think of that until a friend had to mention it, and then she sowed that seed, and that seed has been growing. It has actually been growing because she said she has heard about people who went to the hospital to get tested, and they actually did not have COVID, but by the time they came back home, they caught COVID.
Well, you know, it's a realistic problem because even in our homes, right, we don't have enough space for one person to self-isolate in one bedroom and the rest of the family to use the rest of the house. You know, a lot of us don't even have enough space. So not to talk of, let's say, a typical private hospital, where they may also not have that luxury of having a dedicated space. But, you know, when problems arise, we all have to rise to the occasion. I don't think it's convenient for anybody to isolate, even at home, or the family members. But it's only patients that have moderate to severe disease, their oxygen level is dropping, they are really sick, that really need hospitalization. I think even in Lagos State is doing home-based care. So if somebody tests positive, it might be best to actually know that that individual is positive and then find a way to self-isolate at home, as opposed to saying, well, there's no way for me to isolate, so why bother testing? Because then if that individual is positive, then they may, you know, unwillingly spread it to other family members. And that's how the disease stays persistent. So as long as the virus keeps finding a host to go into and replicate, this COVID is not going to go away, which hopefully when the vaccine comes and becomes widely available, then, you know, we'll have a solution. And even that will take time.
Okay.
So, but I think the conversation needs to move away from, say, the capacity of that one doctor with a private hospital. He or she has limited resources. I think the conversation needs to go beyond the government, NCDC or Ministry of Health. The conversation really needs to go into the society. So there are lots of, like, I remember there was a big issue about meat plants, prisons, you know, in all that April, May, June of last year in the United States, where COVID was just spreading like wildfire. And, you know, so we have tons of industries, we have tons of factories. So those are all things that the owners of those industries can, as a corporate responsibility, incorporate to say, okay, we will do surveillance testing for all our staff, you know, working in the factory. And now there are rapid tests. It's not everybody that needs a PCR test. So there are rapid tests.
Dr. Yemisi, this matter is plenty. But let me come to Mori. I'll come back to you again. Mori.
So I just want to know, can the world, and this question is for Dr. MC, so can the world ever, you know, go back to what it was post-COVID, you know?
Pre-COVID, you mean?
Actually, pre-COVID, I beg your pardon, where people can actually travel and be free and, you know, do roller coasters without mask. If the answer is yes, what time frame are we actually looking at?
Are you planning your trip for the future?
Well, right, you know?
Dr. Yemisi will be a billionaire. She had that answer.
I know. You know, the day we stop hoping, we're in trouble. So no matter how bad it looks, we have to stay optimistic. I think it's possible. It might take some time. It might take a long time, but it's certainly possible. If the world can eradicate smallpox, you know, polio, from countries and continents and nations, these two can go away. Unfortunately, the whole thing has been politicized in different ways in different countries. And now, whatever is happening in a little town in remote America is going to affect what's happening in the little town in South Africa or in Nigeria. We're all connected now. So it's certainly possible. Timeline is problematic, but as this year progresses, right, more and more vaccines are becoming mainstream, they're coming online. I think as more vaccines become available and a lot more countries have access to vaccine, eventually we will hit that herd immunity. You know, of course, the virus too is fighting. The virus is mutating.
Yeah, I was going to come there.
You know, it's mutating.
Yeah. You know what, Dr. Yemisi, let us take a break because I was going to come there. I said this one now, they said they found a vaccine. You are taking the vaccine now, they said the virus is mutating. So we don't even know what's happening. So it's just so tricky. But we'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation and take some of your messages. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
women are shamed for having CS. I think all of this mentality needs to stop.
As long as that child is born while this marriage subsists,
yes,
the father is the father.
Yes.
If you have empathy, you will listen to the people say, look, there's a problem with our security. We have a security challenge in Nigeria today, and you need to do something about it.
The issue of empathy actually cuts right across, from leadership down to the followership.
We have reduced fallen heroes to beggars at the airport. We have reduced our veterans to what it is today.
We need to think about this thing. Otherwise, people are not encouraged to want to serve their nation as they should.
I must just chip in here that, look, even those in service today are looking at the treatment you are meting out.
Correct.
To those of us who are veterans out there. And so what next do you expect? Oh boy, prepare for your tomorrow.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you're just tuning in, our goal is to find ways to fight COVID-19 by bringing down the cost, especially for testing, and perhaps those that are decision makers are watching and would adopt some of these solutions that we're bringing tonight. So please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WaysShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I have some SMSs, and I'll come to you, Nkechi, to take some. Someone, I don't know, the person didn't drop their name, says, so the so-called NIN registration needed to link to phone numbers should be stopped immediately to reduce the spread of COVID-19 at these centers. Now, a reasonable government would have halted the exercise a long time ago. Of course, that one we've been talking about that for a very long time. I don't know if they are listening. So you have some comments with you.
Yeah. Someone said the billions contributed cannot be deployed to subsidize the procurement of the vaccine. And another one, the CA COVID funding cannot be further encouraged to help procure the vaccine to help arrest the scare and the spread.
That's the COVID. That's the one, the coalition of them Dangote and all of those people.
Yes.
Then he says a population of 200 million is yet to be able to produce any competent component, for testing. That's the question he's asking. So Dr. Yemisi, I want us to go back to this thing, because I know that testing is very, very critical in terms of, fighting the spread of COVID-19, because you really cannot tell if it is malaria or if it is COVID until you do a test. Now, I was talking to one of our anchors. She was saying that her aunt got ill, really ill, was treating malaria, treating typhoid. This thing lasted for like almost 2 months. This is somebody that's supposed to be learned. Go and get a COVID test. No, I don't have COVID, God forbid. You understand? Sorry. So I just feel like a lot of people are actually, for me, it's annoying. It's not like it's, so it's not like it's HIV, where I know that if I'm careful, I will not contract it. So if I do the test, I know that I've done the test and I'm clean. But this one, I can just say hello to you and I've contracted it. So why would something as quick to spread like that have so much cost attached to it? So I hear you. You are saying that the NGOs should come on board, churches should come on board, mosques should come on board. What's it called? The government cannot do it alone. Governments should subsidize. But we know that in Nigeria, already if something costs 220 naira, the government can come and say the thing costs 200 naira. That is the standard of, what's it called, corruption that is already within Nigeria. So are you trying to tell me that this cost, there is no embedded corruption inside somewhere happening? Because I don't understand why the cost, the kit will be so expensive for something that it spreads so quickly.
That's actually a valid question that we should all be asking. Here in the United States, if you want to pay for COVID tests, it could range anywhere from, say, $100 to maybe $200, depending on where you go to. That's if you have to pay out of pocket. And, we are still seeing this. When I say we, I mean the government. So not just in Nigeria, even the United States until maybe just a few weeks ago, right? We have to tie this to the how do I put this? The overall well-being of the society. If the society is not well, which is where we are now with this pandemic, if we're unwell, all aspects of society is going to be affected, which is what we are all seeing. The government, you know, there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption here, there's corruption in Nigeria, there's corruption everywhere. But the federal government, the state government, the local governments, they have to realize that the issue of COVID-19 is different, all right? It's not right to say, I want to take the money to build a road and take it for myself and be corrupt about it. But taking the money meant for this pandemic and everything that is associated with it, I think it's beyond par. Because, you know, so many, even the rich and mighty have been affected, and a lot of them have lost their lives as well. So the government should realize that controlling this pandemic is not just important for the people, it's important for me. If Nigeria is controlled for the pandemic, then I can keep getting richer, right? I can keep doing what I was doing before. So everybody has to see it as such. Everybody has to. People have, okay, look at, you know, we have all these market associations, right? You know, you go to Agege Market, Tejo, all the different markets, they all have associations. A lot of those associations are very hefty. If you look at their bank accounts, right? Market women contribute money to belong to this association.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why the people running the market associations cannot be doing surveillance testing for market women. They have a lot of money. They collect a lot of money. Look at the NURTW, the motor parks.
Yes.
All those organizations are very rich, right? They all contribute a lot of money. So they should be investing in themselves, in their own members. So it's not just Nigerian Medical Association or Nigerian Bar Association or the Association of the Rich Bankers. Every group, every society should find a way to make this affordable. If we see going to test for COVID as, you know, like you said, somebody did not want to, me test for COVID. No. We shouldn't see it as such. Like you said, this is not a disease that you get by being, by behaving bad, right? Or being, or having, you know, bad behavior. This is just something that is just widespread in the community. It just happens,
yeah.
No, so we need to start having these discussions often and often, so that we can all change our impressions, our narrative, and everybody has to buy in. One sector of society cannot do it. The doctors alone cannot do it. The hospital administrators alone cannot do it. Ministry of Health alone cannot do it. Everybody has to buy in because it affects everybody, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dr. Yemisi, so talking about the vaccine, let's help our viewers understand what the vaccine does. So are we saying that the vaccine, once you take the vaccine, you will never catch COVID again? Or is that supposed to just take away all the symptoms immediately you take the vaccine?
Yeah. So, you know, that's a fantastic question. So there's some facts we know and a lot we still don't know about the vaccine. Every month we're learning more. I think I can only talk about the two common ones that have been approved in the United States. I know there are different types of vaccines in different countries, so I'm still not sure what is going to make its way to Nigeria. I won't be surprised if we end up with multiple types of vaccines in Nigeria, which will make sense so that, you know, the more we get, the more we can vaccinate people. But at least on the two most common ones worldwide as of now,